Good morning. It is not even 4 a.m. yet where I am. I just woke up about 30 minutes ago, and boy, are my arms tired. Um, so I want to talk about the clickbaity kind of videos that I've been seeing lately. It's 2023, and so it's time for everybody to make a video about how to succeed on YouTube in 2023, doing this complex series of actions which you will definitely make into a system that's self-sustainable, we promise. And that's never going to happen because I have ADHD or I have something. I say ADHD because people know how to relate to that, but I might have an attention deficit that doesn't have to do with ADHD because when people use kind of hyperbole, they're like, you wouldn't say that unless you had like a head injury as a small child or something. Well, I had a head injury as a small child, so I am that guy. So because I had a head injury as a small child, I have trouble following some of the advice of some of these how to succeed in 2023 on YouTube videos. And one thing I want to talk about is like a lot of these channels make this advice and they're making it for someone else. A lot of them are business channels as they're trying to make this advice into business shaped advice. But so many channels on YouTube are not, they, even though they are businesses and they're making money, they're not business shaped. For instance, look at a lot of gamers like Markiplier, or like a lot of people like Markiplier, for instance. Markiplier makes all kinds of different content. According to these channels, he should stop doing that. According to these channels, Markiplier is a very unsuccessful creator and is never going to get ahead doing what he's doing, which is making all kinds of different content and splitting his audience and not niching down. Niching down. How dare you not niche down, Markiplier? How dare? So the thing is, like, I started on YouTube because I thought I had some things to say people might want to hear. I had some things I wanted to share. Those are always going to be things that I want to share. And no matter what people say my channel should be shaped like in order to get clicks and watch hours and views and all of that, I'm still going to want to make the same kind of content, which is not going to be the kind of content that they want to tell me how to make. A lot of the stuff that people are giving advice on is just little technical tricks that I don't think actually help as much as people think. It's like, yeah, you can get an edge if in the middle of your video you're like, by the way, if you think that's a cool idea, check out this video on so and so that I did last week. And it's like, yeah, you could do that to make you feel like you have power over the universe, but I don't think it's actually going to make nearly as much of a difference as you think it makes. The best advice that I saw, and it was from the same channel that was giving some of this other advice too, so I don't want to knock them too much. That's why I haven't named names. I don't want to shame anyone. No shame here. Um, but they also did another video on YouTube Shorts, actually, where they were like, hey, if you want to connect with the audience, then you just need to talk to the camera and be genuine and really say things that you care about and talk about things that you care about. And your audience will connect with you because they feel that genuine connection. And I'm going with that more than I'm going with, and by the way, make sure to put end cards at the end of your video or no one will ever click on any of your content ever again. Like, there's times where I do try to put end cards in, but to be honest, like, just so you know, like, it's such a hassle for me to do that. Like, this is really what I wanted to talk about was the whole like building a big gigantic system, like some kind of huge complicated Rube Goldberg device. Like, um, you you're supposed to do this amount of organization on YouTube that is insane, according to some of these creators. And I think it's because these creators are very good at that kind of thing, and so that's how they like what they know how to advise people on. But like when it comes to me, I have attention problems. So I I think what it comes down to is there are certain people where a sustainable system to them will solve all of your problems and will make it easier for you to create the things that you want to create. That does work for some people. But for people like me, it's not that I need a sustainable system to keep me organized and keep and start regularly creating the content I like to create. The thing is, it wouldn't make a difference anyway for me because the content that I typically create that is successful is spur of the moment. I tend to like have an idea, just like I'll have ideas very randomly, and I don't know how to repeat those ideas. They just have them in response to things. I'll watch a YouTube video that I'd never even thought of, like, clicking on before. It'll be on the roller coaster documentaries or something, and I'll see something on that says, you know what? I need to research that and make a video on that. And I would have never thought about that before, but I that's what I want to do next. And I do it next, and it's successful. Or it's at least fun, which for me is enough because um, there's a lot of emphasis like on YouTube success being measured by how good your YouTube business is. And I don't think that's true. I think that you can be very successful on YouTube and have no successful business whatsoever. In fact, I think a lot of creators are actually in that spot where they are very successful on YouTube because they're just doing things that come natural to them. They know their audience, they know how to interact with their audience, they know how to speak to their audience. And the advice that they're being given is, well, you just need to do all these things in a way that's now like expected and systemized. And it's like you don't need a system if you were already doing things without that system. And sometimes the system is not as much of a time saver or an effort saver as you would think. Um, I have tried a lot of different systems approaches to my work over the years, not only on YouTube, but also I was a web developer for 10 years, doing pretty complex web applications, kind of during the Web 2.0 era, basically. Um, and I encountered any number of systems to try to organize what developers were doing, to try to organize the job that I was doing. And what I found was that I repeatedly ended up in the kind of jobs or in the kind of specializations where you cannot use any one system and just repeat that for the rest of your life. Um, I really think that a lot of these creators, not creators, but a lot of these advice things, how to improve your channel in 2022, they're trying to build a system that maintains itself, like a kind of self-perpetuating system. And to some people, that's progress. But I hate having a system that works on its own that I don't have to think about things throughout because I find that my success, not only on YouTube, but also other channels and also just in life, my success is usually dependent on me thinking about the things that I'm doing. And the systems that you can build as a creator on YouTube, according to these channels, are about not thinking about things or about only thinking about things that they think matters. And sometimes it's about replacing your thought with another tool that will make it more efficient, which I disagree with. I do not like title helping tools. Um, I think that that's reducing people's creativity and it's defeating the point of both titles and the AI that is trying to help find the best titles. Just YouTube is always looking for the next thing. And how is it going to find the next thing if you keep on doing exactly what it expects? You're not the next thing anymore, and it's going to skip you. I know that sounds weird. I know that like making things like YouTube expects seems to be the logical way to go, but only if you want to succeed like everybody else has succeeded before. But there are many ways in which people are succeeding on YouTube and in other places where people don't know how they're succeeding. They just are. Markiplier has been a channel I've actually studied for a few years now, trying to figure out not what is Markiplier's secret sauce, but does Markiplier think he has a secret sauce? And if he thinks he has a secret sauce, does he know what that sauce is? And the answer is no. I can say that because at one point during, I think, one of his video game streams, he just turned to the camera and said, I don't have a system. I don't have a system. Stop asking me for my system. I don't have a system. I just do stuff and it works. And I think that somebody must have been interviewing him recently, asking, like, "Hey, what's your system for getting views? How are you doing all this? Like, what's the way that you do all these things?" And he doesn't have a way; he just does. It just happens to be successful because he's lucky, from how he's kind of described it. And it's not just because he's lucky. There's a component to Markiplier's success as well as other creators that are like Markiplier. It's not. It's partially that people like Markiplier. That Markiplier's brand is simply him being Markiplier, and you cannot be Markiplier according to some kind of script or some kind of formula. It simply just happens. And so, as long as he is given opportunities to be impulsive, not impulsive, that's not going to help you. But as long as he's given opportunities to surprise people, then he is very successful. And so he does a lot of content where he's given the opportunity to surprise people. He does a lot of live stuff where he does a lot of reaction, like, gaming type of videos. He does a lot of group stuff with other people so he can play off of those people and do more unexpected things. This is because of generally how he likes to be. So he's enjoying himself on video, and when Markiplier enjoys himself, people like to watch because it's fun. Um, and like many people, Markiplier doesn't enjoy doing the same exact thing over and over again. I think that if you look at, say, the Game Grumps channel over the last like year or so, they look really depressed. I don't know how else to say it, but when I look at them in their thumbnails, I've watched them in videos. I watched a Game Grumps video in which they had Markiplier on as a guest. It was one of the more awkward videos I'd ever seen Markiplier in because I could tell everybody in the room was uncomfortable for some reason. Like, I don't know if somebody just farted and they're uncomfortable because of that, but something about the video just like felt like, wow, Markiplier sure is more comfortable in his own videos. In this one, everyone is very awkward and there's kind of a weird vibe. And I honestly think it's because Game Grumps has been trying to execute a format for a few years now instead of having fun. And I think that the format is really locking people in a way that they don't understand. I think it works for some channels, and I think it works for some creators because some creators like playing within that format and then doing some new stuff out of it. Like Dead Meat. Dead Meat's a great channel where they do horror movie, not really reviews, but recaps that focus on the kill counts, and they also just talk about their own opinions about horror, where horror is going. They interview horror creators. So like the dead meat kill counts, they're always according to a certain format. I've watched so many kill counts from Dead Meat, and the reason I keep watching them is because I love their format. Every time they do a kill count, it's always the same format. I always know what to expect in terms of structure, and all of the surprises are variations on that structure that are very wonderful and entertaining. Dead Meat has perfected this. Part of the reason why Dead Meat has perfected this is because James Denise, who runs it, he used to be editing like uh, video clips for Netflix on Twitter, and so he kind of got trained in this format-based content delivery. He understood that once you invent or find a format that the audience really loves to experience content within, then you pretty much can just keep following that format and they're always going to love that. You just have to keep on delivering on your promise to deliver something new with each video. So with Dead Meat, the formula works well for them. I don't see them come out with videos that are like random. They if they deliver a video, it's always something that's kind of in line with what their audience would expect, even if it's not completely up to formula. For instance, they do a lot of tie-ins with current movie channels, not movie channels, with current movies. Like, say, they'll have cast members of a recent horror movie on for a fun video where they play a game or something, and it's kind of according to the rules of like whoever's bringing the cast over there, but those still follow the formula of the whole channel being a horror movie channel and giving you news and updates on horror movies. So all still according to what you expect delivery wise, not a whole bunch of surprises. But the format is what's strongest on Dead Meat, and I think it delivers well for them. But not every channel is format based. And I think YouTube's creator help channels are far too focused on format based content, because it's the formulaic is the easiest to give you a system for, to be quite honest. But there are many different ways of making content, and I think that there are a lot of channels on YouTube that are far more, they benefit far more from spontaneity than anything else. um, some of the entertainment that I loved most whenever I was growing up was British comedy, specifically Monty Python's Flying Circus. And there's always a first time in someone's life that they see a Monty Python's Flying Circus skit. And I always like to look back in my early days of watching Monty Python's Flying Circus. It was airing on Comedy Central, so even though it was like, I think like the early or mid 90s, for me all of this was new. And it was airing on TV because Comedy Central at the time needed content, and so reruns of Monty Python's Flying Circus were going to be about what you would get there. Now there's a bunch of new stuff that follows the format, but um Monty Python doesn't have a format. When it does have a format, they vary the heck out of it. Watch 2 episodes of Monty Python's Flying Circus. And if you want to really get the benefit out of it, I'd say like try them from different seasons, maybe an early one and a later one or a mid one or something. Watch one of the episodes dubbed in German, because that'll give you a real content change experience. But basically, they didn't have a plan per se for a lot of their stuff. They'd kind of think of a skit, do it, and then you see the skit itself change in the middle of the skit, become something else entirely towards the end, and then there's no end. It just launches into a random animation that then launches into a random different skit, and you don't really know how you got there either. It's just a whole experience. And you watch Monty Python's Flying Circus because you want that experience of you don't know what's going to happen next. And so there's a lot of channels where I go to that channel for the experience if I don't know what's going to happen next. If they follow format, then they ruin that. So when it comes to what I'm going to be doing for my channel in 2023, I've already done a couple of videos on like, what's up in 2023, and one on specifically on what I'm doing with this channel. There's a lot of times where I think of kind of like a format based thing that would be really good or really fun. But halfway through thinking through that video idea, I get tired, and I realize it's because building a format or building a system, building a structure, that's actual work. And what I found is that I'm so good at the spontaneity based content that if I do too much formulaic content or system based content, then I get tired very easily, because I'll want to build 3 types of content a week. And that's 3 different systems, 3 different structures, 3 different formats. And that's how I am. Now, at some point, I will kind of want to adjust how it is that I do things. Like, I don't have to stay the same way my entire life. I say that's how I am, but that doesn't mean that's how I have to stay. But right now, in this, the year of our Lord, 2023, after 2022, which was basically 2020, part 2, after so many years of COVID and so much of society's slow shuffle downwards, I'm tired. And I just want to do random stuff. So I think that um, I think people on YouTube need to get off the format. I think that they need to stop doing the format thing. The problem is that I think that a lot of creator helpers out there, I say creator helpers, they're also creators, but they're creators who are specifically trying to help other creators create, which I love. It's great. I think that a lot of them are trying to figure out how to get people to create stuff according to a formula, because that's the easiest way to help them, is to say, okay, we'll build your formula that will help you. Also, I think a lot of them are kind of focused on solving the main problem people usually have whenever they first get onto YouTube, which is, all right, I'm starting YouTube. How do I have a channel that's shaped like a channel? How do I have a channel that's got like 100 videos on it whenever I just got onto YouTube? And the first thing that people typically tell you is like, hey, well, pick a format and make videos in that format, and pretty soon you'll fill your channel up. But what if you're just patient and you do it naturally? I really wonder if everybody just did stuff naturally instead of trying to be shaped like the YouTube algorithm, if they would simply succeed anyway. The algorithm is based to just naturally find you if you're interesting. So why don't you just try being interesting instead of try being formula? Like, I did a video like about a week ago, maybe at this point, where I critiqued a MatPat theory. And I at one point I was like, man, I don't know how people are going to find this content. I'll post it on my blog, but I don't think people on my blog really like care that much about MatPat. And according to the external clicks onto the video, they didn't. So my stats proved me correct there. So I was like, I don't think I'm actually going to get hardly any views on this video. It's at 200 views already, and that was counter to my expectations. The reason why it was counter to my expectations is because I forgot that YouTube can hear you and see you now. Its AI can tell what you were doing visually, and it can tell what you were saying in audio. And it really cares about what you were doing and saying, because that's how it tells people to go look at your content. That was a cat. I don't know if you heard that big thump, but that was a cat, and that surprised me. Wow. YouTube can see you is where I was. So at one point, before the video took off, I was like, well, I think that to get people who actually care about this video to see it, I should go to like a MatPat Reddit or something and post a link there. But I never actually did that. I decided not to, basically, and just to see what happens without me doing that. And I'm glad that I did, by the way, because I saw that YouTube found my content for everyone. Like, basically, if anybody was searching, not even searching, this was the thing, it's not search traffic. I looked at this. Search traffic's about maybe 10-15%. On that video, almost everybody who clicked on it saw it on their homepage. It wasn't suggested videos, by the way. That's different. That's at the end of a video. YouTube suggests like the next thing. This was specifically people browse features. YouTube calls it browse features. So whenever you browse around the homepage, when you're just looking, like there's stuff in the sidebar, that's browse features. Almost all of my views were from browse features, and no one can figure out how YouTube did that. Like, they can tell you, okay, well, keep on making videos about stuff that people on YouTube care about, and YouTube will serve stuff up to them. Yeah, I know, I figured that out. But like, the reason that it was able to do that, it's like I had a title and a thumbnail that referred to either his name or his channel, and I had a description that mentioned them as well. I don't think that helped nearly as much as the content of the video, because it wasn't in response to people searching. It was in response to people browsing. So if you just talk about stuff that people find relevant, YouTube will know and it will just give it to them. And that has nothing to do with your thumbnail, has nothing to do with your title, all that other stuff. I get that making your stuff more likely to be clicked on will mean that people click on it more. But that's kind of like the customer has to be able to ring the bell to be able to get the attendant's attention. And so you'll get more customers coming and ringing the bell if you make sure the bell is easily within reach of them. Like, move the bell closer to the customers, maybe they'll ring the bell more often. But that's not the only story that's happening here, and that's not the only thing that you need to do to actually engage your customers. And also, what if you thought about them as viewers instead of customers? Because I think a lot of people are starting to think about their viewers as click funnels. I used the word that the gurus use. I think people are starting to think of their users as click funnels instead of as viewers or as audience. And it's going to need to be good enough for you that somebody watched your video and enjoyed it. I'm sorry to sound like so blunt, but some of these people don't seem to see the point of YouTube, which is you should be on here because you want to make videos and you want people to see them. That should be enough that it'll get the job done. So what is it that you want to do? The thing is, making a format or a system or something that helps, like that I saw, like, here's a system that'll get your YouTube channel monetized in 4 months. And it's like, okay, cool, but who cares if you're making content that makes you miserable? Just make some stuff you like. People will notice that you're doing something you like and they'll show up for it. That's how YouTube is supposed to be built. All of the other types of strategies, like, here's like professional looking thumbnails you can have your channel. Here's a way to make a thumbnail that people will click, things like that. Is that really anything that you enjoy? If it's something you enjoy, keep on doing it. But if you don't enjoy it, then spend some other time doing something else. I can't tell you how many crappy thumbnails I've clicked on YouTube because it was ironic. Like, um, there's sometimes where an extremely successful thumbnail on YouTube is the worst thumbnail I've ever seen. Actually, one video that was very good at talking about this, they showed a video where the thumbnail was just a yellow rectangle, and apparently it was a video about how whenever you see yellow displayed on a computer monitor, it's not with the color yellow, it's with a combination of different color pixels, red, green, and blue. And so the title was, "This is not yellow," and then the thumbnail was yellow. This engages the user. But you can't do that for every single one of your pieces. You can't be like, and this content isn't about frogs, but it is about frogs. That's not going to engage people. That one idea was very good, but you can't repeat that for every single one of your thumbnails. That creator was thinking. And the real trick is to just use thinking. You can't use thinking if you're using a system. A system is actually made to replace thought. So a system or a format or whatever, that is there to give you a break from thinking. And a lot of times people like format-based videos because they don't have to think in some of those parts. They don't have to wonder, man, what's going to happen next in this video? Or I don't know what it is I'm going to expect next in this thing. It's starting to feel kind of long. They know what to expect, so they don't have to think about it. So replacing thought is sometimes a very good strategy on YouTube. But again, an opportunity to think is an opportunity to come up with a new idea, and new ideas work the best anywhere, but especially on YouTube. So I would suggest not developing a system that entirely replaces thought for you. I would suggest not using tools that write titles for you. Most of all, I've tried a couple even, and they kind of like graded my titles, but I had to guess a lot on what it is I needed to put. You have to pay for some of those that like actually like write your titles for you, but they give you like 20 suggestions anyway. You're still going to have to think about it. And I would suggest just writing your own titles, because coming up with something new, a new idea that no one's had before, YouTube notices the heck out of that. I don't know how it does, but they've trained their AI to start picking up on new things. Maybe because people pick up on new things and it just picks up on what people pick up on. You don't have a chance to do anything new if you're stuck in your format. And there's a lot of channels I've been following, or very good channels. They've been going for years on YouTube. They're content creators. They're not just doing a channel on how to do YouTube channels. They're making like video game related documentaries and stuff like that. And what they're finding is that they've kind of fallen into a hole in their channel because they've been following this format for so long that either they're getting tired or it's just kind of worn thin. They don't know how to be spontaneous anymore. Also, it's very hard to do something new whenever you've got a format that's been working for so long. Like, you can keep on reusing all those graphics, you can reuse all those sound effects, kind of just reuse the whole template. So you can kind of easily get stuck in a hole if you forget how to think. And it looks like the theme of 2023 is going to be forgetting how to think. I don't blame you. It's hard to think. It's troublesome. It's difficult after all these years of COVID, but I promise you, thinking is worth it. Try it sometime. It'll do more for you than you think. That's my big tip for YouTube. Try thinking. It's pretty cool.